Hi everyone, welcome to our Baby's Breath bottle painting tutorial. In this video, I'll show you how to create a small bouquet of Baby's Breath flowers onto a glass surface. This flower can be used as the main show on a bottle, or you can add it to some of your other designs or florals that you have created before. So I'll start off by showing you the tools such as the paint and paintbrush. Then we'll go over how to dab the paint onto the bottle and the shape of it. And then after that, I'll get into the actual painting. I know all of you are super excited to dive into it, so let's get started. These are the paints that we'll be using. This is my favorite brand from Folk Art, and please be sure it's the multi-surface paint. This means that it can stick to any sort of surface, especially glass, which is what we're going to be using it for. So I have the Wicker White, Thicket, my favorite color, Licorice, light lavender, medium blue, and an optional color, which is parchment. This is just a light beige color that I use to add at the tops of the flower. It is optional, like you really can't see it. And especially if you're using a dark bottle like a wine or champagne, you probably don't need this at all, but I'm just using it because I have it. So these are the brushes that we'll be using. They're from the FBP Advanced Bottle Painting Brush Set. This is Stippler number 3 and Liner 3-0. You only need 2 brushes to create this flower, and here they are. Right now I wanted to show you how we'll make the flowers on the branches, and we're using a black sheet of paper because I wanted to show you a gradient, and I think the black will show that really well. You don't need to have a black sheet of paper or follow along at this point, but it's mainly just so you can see how we'll do the gradient. So at this time I have my number 3 stippler brush, and I'm going to demonstrate using some white paint. So the Baby's Breath appears to have different color depth. So we want to start off with the flowers in the back first. If I just dip my paint directly into white paint, it's going to look really blobby like this. So what you want to do is kind of dab off some of that blobby paint. That's too much. Okay, so I'm zoomed in, and I'll show you what it looks like when you just dab it on the piece of paper. So it's really dark. This is not what we want. That's too much paint, it's too dark. But you can see as I start dabbing less and less, it starts to get lighter. And this is what we want. This is how we'll do the different gradients. So it starts off really dark, and then as less and less paint is on the brush, it starts to get a little bit lighter. Remember this when we start doing the flowers. Okay, so now that we see the gradient, let's say that I have my branches here. I'm just going to draw it out so we can practice with it. If you want to, you can follow along with this. But this is just so that I can demonstrate it for you. Okay. We have our branches here. The first thing that I'll do is dip my paintbrush into the white paint and make sure I don't have too much paint on it. So I'm going to dab some of it off. So it's not too dark. We don't want it to be like that blob in the beginning. And then from here, we'll start putting some very light dabs where the branches are. And don't worry if there's no branch for the little dots that you're making, because at the end, we're going to add more branches to it. So don't worry about covering it all up. Or if you put something random like that and there's no branch connecting to it, don't worry, we'll make it happen later. Right now we're just working on the gradient. So you can see that it's very light, not too dark. And you can see right here for this last one, I started running out of paint. So I just grab a little bit of paint and finish it up like that. So we have the background flowers. You can see it's not really full yet. From here, I'm going to get some purple and do the same thing. So I'm using light lavender. I like adding a little bit of color because it just gives it some more depth. So I'll add some purples at the bottom, and I didn't even clean off my brush. I'm still using the same brush with a little bit of purple on it. So the purple sort of acts like a shadow at the bottom. There we go. Okay, so it's coming out, it's coming together a little. And then from here, so we have the background. Now we want to add darker, more opaque white on it. So I'll put more, I'll get a little bit more white on my brush. I have some white. And then from here, you'll start adding whites to the top part. Do not cover the very see-through parts. You're just adding some white accents. So you can tell that this is a little bit more opaque than the one that we just added. I'm gonna just add some in random areas. And I'm also going to add some cream to it. And the last part is a little bit of medium blue. I just will add this in just for some color and some depth. So what we did here was basically just play around with the brush and how much paint was added to it and how much pressure you add onto the paper. So again, let me just show that to you and what we did. I got some white paint, and at first we just did very light dabs. You want to make it even lighter than that. So make sure you keep it very light, very soft. And once you have that, you'll come back with more paint on the top, more white paint, and make it a little more opaque. And then you can come in with some purples and some blues. Okay, and I'm not pressing super hard with it, you're just lightly dabbing it. So this is the bottle I'll be painting on. Before we even get started, make sure to wipe it off with a cotton pad and some alcohol. This just removes any of the surface oils and dust, you know, that comes from our fingers, and it really helps the paint stick better to the surface. I'm wiping on the right side because this is where I want to paint my flower. And this is really pretty. I don't want to get it dirty just in case. So I'll be removing it for now. So I'll put that off to the side. So on my palette, I put colors white, black, green, and purple there. I know it's all mixed in, but I did put just a small amount. And this is what I'll be using to paint it. So to start off, I'm going to make the stems first. So I'll grab a little bit of black and a little bit of green kind of mixed together. And because the stems are thicker at the bottom and thinner at the top, you want to start off at the bottom first and then pull your brush up, because it'll start off very thick and then go to a very thin line at the end. So we'll make a few of these. So there's the first one. You notice how it's thicker at the bottom and then it gets really thin at the top. That's what we want. We'll make a few of these. So I'll make another one coming up from the side here. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'll make another one coming here. Coming off to the side. And don't worry, we can always add more later on if we need to. And then from here, you want to make the little branches coming off the big branch. Let's see, we can start by making smaller branches coming off these bigger ones. And keep your pressure light using the liner brush. Do not press too hard, because if you press too hard, your lines will come out too thick. That's not what we want. So you can see here I'm making a little branch and then smaller branches coming off from the side. So I'll play some music, follow along, and we'll meet back after we create our smaller branches. Oh, and don't worry about creating too much. At the end of making the flowers, we'll come back to it and add more branches at the end. So just add enough, but not too much, and follow along. Okay, so now that we have our branches here, we're gonna start creating the flowers. I have the Stippler #3 brush, and I'm going to grab a little bit of white, And you can see here, I only have the white at the very top of the brush. I don't have a lot. I dabbed off a lot of the paint, so it's not going to be super blobby when I start dabbing it on. And let's see. I'll start right over here. See, just lightly. Ooh, I think I touched some black on that one. If you're accidentally mixing the colors like I just did, be sure to wipe off your brush and start over. Okay, let's try that again. So I have the white, dab off some of that paint, and then start lightly making the background for the flowers. See, it's very light. You can barely even tell that it's there. Grabbing more paint. I'm using very light pressure. Just lightly dabbing it. You don't want to have too much pressure. Otherwise it'll come out really blobby, and that's not what we want. So I just put these little dots at the top of the stems that we created. And don't worry, like if you accidentally put some in a place that doesn't have a stem, we'll come back to it. Okay, so I like how that's coming out. I also want to create something down here, so I just add a little bit of paint. I'm going to create a stem over here at the end. Okay, and then now that I have that, it looks so pretty how it is. I'm going to add a little bit of purple. So I touch down into the light lavender very lightly. You can see that it's like barely even there. And then I'll add it to the bottom of the flowers just to create like a little shadow with this purple. Please go easy with this purple. A little goes a long way, so you don't need a lot. Even this little dot I have on my palette is just way too much. Okay, you can see I barely touched with the purple. That just adds some really nice color to it. And then because I want to add some blue, it's barely even there. I used a tiny bit, like you can kind of see it right there. This is the medium blue. Okay, so I have that. The nice thing about doing this is that you created such thin layers that it's basically dry already. I can touch it, doesn't come on my finger, and I just painted it. So from here, we're going to do one of the last few layers, which is adding the white. I put a little bit more on my brush because I want this part to be opaque, and I'll put this white at the tops of each of the flowers. You don't want to cover everything, but just put it at the top. So you can see right here I have some paint on it already. I'm just going to cover the top with the white and it becomes opaque. And I'm just using a very light dabbing motion because I want it to look very airy and light. And if you're painting on a white surface, it might not show up so well. So I wouldn't, if you have a white bottle, I wouldn't do this on a white surface. Black, it'll look very nice on black though. So if you have a black bottle, like a dark wine bottle or champagne, this will look so pretty. Okay. I'm just seeing where I can place more of it. I kind of like it to be off center just a little. So it's not a totally straight bouquet, but there's some that are, this side is a little bit lower than the right side. I really like that look. Because this is not showing up so well, I'm gonna add some purple. Oh, that's way too much purple. See, a little does go a long way here. So I added some purple just so it shows up better. See that? Okay, and then I also want to add a little bit of beige in there. This is, yeah, my paint exploded, so this one got all messed up. But at least the paint is fine. This is parchment. It's like a light beige color. I want to add a little bit. I put way too much. That blob is way too much. I only need a small amount. But I'm going to use this color at the top of the flowers. A very small amount. You don't need a lot of this, and I'm only placing it in random areas. If you don't have that color, it's fine. You can skip this step. But I just wanted to add it on because my bottle is see-through, so I thought it would give me a little bit more color. Okay, so I'm done with that. I'm going to rinse off my brush. We're actually done with the stipple. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my liner brush and I will fix all these lines here. I'll add a little bit of green to it. And I'll also add smaller branches, like this one that I said I was going to do earlier. Come back and add a small branch to it. I lost a lot of these branches as we were painting, so you can just come back and add it in. Just gives it more details when you can see some of the branches coming through. You don't need to press too hard. Also, if your paint is too thick, you can dip your brush into the water, have it a little bit damp, and then continue painting. This makes the paint flow better. You can see here all of my stems were lost under the white paint. You just put more black and it comes back. so this is the smaller bottle. Let's see. It just looks so cute with that there. Really nice baby's breath design. I think this design also looks really good on a bigger bottle, like this one here. This is one I had painted earlier. There's a lot of space at the top, so if you have a bigger bottle, I think it'll look really pretty to have that there. You have a lot of room to make details. So this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching this baby's breath tutorial. And if you painted it, please tag me in it so that I can love on your work. And if you're interested in learning more about bottle painting, I do have other videos along with other courses, so please see the link in my bio for more information. Until then, happy painting! Bye!